Good evening. It's me, Pao Sandata for WomboXCombo, and on today's episode, isang very special na episode. We will be joined by Adam 343 Shah. You may know him from his times sa Fnatic, where he served as at one point their drafter as he replaced Bushi early in last season's history. Since then, he was the roaming support duo for some of your favorite Dota 2 players, in particular Jardel DJ Mampusti. From that point forward, he played as the support again, once again, replacing Rafael Sikat Palo, also known as Rapi, on Execration before that fatal exclusion from Boston Major ng Execration. Since then, he has joined up with a new team composed of a different EU and the SEA players. The new Bears team that's been very, very dominant, although they fell short of the mark dun sa DAC qualifiers. We'll be talking to him today about topics such as what was his time in Execration like, nagustuhan ba niya ang Pilipinas, bakit siya umalis, and of course, the forming of Bears, ano yung metagame ngayon ng Europe from his perspective, and what is next for this Bears team. Di natin alam. A lot of teams in Dota 2 nabubuo and then namamatay agad-agad. Will this team stand the test of time? I hope you join us for this conversation. It's going to be a great one. Adam 343 Shah is one of the most analytical minds in Dota, especially from the Southeast Asian scene. So I hope you join us. I hope you enjoy this conversation, and we'll be having more of these sorts of interviews ngayon, because we want to announce na lahat ng mga feedback na binibigay niyo sa amin, we've taken them to heart, of course. And kung nakita niyo naman, una sa mga inayos namin is, of course, yung sound quality and, of course, yung camera quality. So, sorry dun sa camera quality natin before. I got a new place, and we are now recording from Manila with better internet, and we hope na you like these interviews that we do for you. Before we begin this interview, I'd like to say thank you so much for yung pagsuporta, pagtangkilik, lalo na sa lupa ng WomboXCombo. And so, para sa inyo tong usapan na to. So, join us for this interview, Sandata 1v1 with Adam 343 Shah. All right. Thank you for joining us. This is another episode of Sandata 1v1 for WomboXCombo. I am your host, Pao Sandata, and I am joined by Adam 343 Shah. Adam, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm fine, dude. I'm good.
Right. So we're going to be talking about 343's recent adventures, especially his new team Bears. Really excited for that. And let's just get down to it. Where are you right now, Adam? Are you with?
I'm in Malaysia. I'm at home. Came back after that calls.
Alright. Well, we're gonna talk a lot about that quals too, because you had a really good tournament. How did you feel? How did you feel for your first sort of run?
I think ultimately we were pretty happy that we did well, even though we didn't qualify. I think it's just second place is always a disappointing place to be in, But at the same time, like when you think about it, we're a new team. And we are kind of satisfied with what we managed to accomplish with just like a 9-day boot camp. We know, like, we see the potential in our team, so it kind of gives us confidence and motivation to work harder.
All right, so I want to talk about that specifically, but before that, I want to tackle the elephant in the room. So right before joining Bears and forming this new team, actually, you were with Execration, and fan favorite especially for our viewers on this channel, because it's a Filipino team, one of the best Filipino teams out right now. So, talk to me about that. What was it like playing with Execration? You've played with DJ, but you haven't played with some of these players. So how was it like, and living in the Philippines too?
I really enjoyed playing with Execration. All of them were very high skill players, like Abed, Gabby. I felt like I didn't bring enough to the team in terms of maybe strategy, because it was kind of hard to come in from the outside. I didn't know how the team works, and if I wanted to bring in a new idea, I might be pulling them out of their comfort zone, which I didn't really want to do. Yeah, that's about it, I think.
Right. So talk to me about that, by the way, because I think a lot of people have that sort of idea that, especially because you've made a reputation that you're a drafter, right? So a lot of people have this idea where if you're in a professional Dota 2 team, the drafter says, okay, you play this hero, and you're expected to play that hero, even if it's not part of your playstyle. Talk to me about that. What goes into your mind about a person's playstyle before you start drafting for them?
I think there are a lot of different players. For example, someone like, oh my god, who can I think of? I can't really think of anyone right now, but like someone like S4. You want S4 to be playing Magnus Panda instead of some Templar Assassin, because he's a playmaker. Like someone like Koifa, you would want him to be playing the Alchemist SF, because he's a super efficient farmer, and he always plays for the late game. So you kind of get, that's something you have to understand before you pick for your team. And there's also playstyle, like in Execration, when I played 4, I realized that all 3 cores tend to farm a bit more. So as before, I had to farm a bit less and make moves more than farm. Yeah, so I think all these things, it relates to hero picks, like if I'm playing a 4, I would want a 4 that scales with minimum amount of farm instead of
something
playing
like an ogre, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be playing this Nana Siren that wants to farm a Radiance from a 4 position. It just doesn't really fit how the team would play at its best, I'd say. Like ideally, we want 3 cores farming and pressuring lanes, and the 2 supports to be making moves. I think it comes down to a lot of how the players look at how they want to use their heroes. Like a player like Abed, like he played Invoker, he would want to farm a lot. So this comes back to drafting. When I pick the Invoker, I will make sure that Abed gets to farm a lot as the Invoker. I wouldn't count him as part of our early game and stuff like that, Other than
you wouldn't expect him to go like queued like an ice wind type where he's also controlling fights, right? You want him on Exort so that he can farm.
Yes.
Got it. All right. So I wanna dive into that a little bit more. So you mentioned that this is the sort of thing you have to look at the team's identity, sort of, and how they play, and how the individuals also tend to play. Like you said, Abed tends to farm a little bit more, especially when you put him on any kind of hero.
Yep.
How long does it take for you to figure that out? Because you said that while you were with the team, you couldn't. You felt like you didn't bring enough strategy on the table because you didn't know them as much. Do you think with a little bit more time you would have figured that out? How long does it take someone like you to
I think a few days should be enough. But at the start, I made the mistake of drafting immediately when I reached, so it kind of messed up a lot of things. So 2 or 3 days later, it was back to chemo drafting. I told him that it's easier for him to draft and for me to analyze our players and what they do well, and from then on I could probably be the drafter. It's easier to just watch the team play in their comfort zone, and that's when you kind of understand what each player plays best and when they play best, and you kind of want to picture that in a 5-man lineup.
So you stayed in the Philippines. You were in the Execration boot camp. What's your favorite part of being there?
The boot camp of Philippines.
Both.
I love the food.
I saw the picture of you eating at a Jollibee. That was
so nice. Philippine food's amazing. Other than that, I think everyone in Execration was super nice to me. Everyone was very helpful. I just like the idea of being overseas and just playing Dota. You don't have distractions. You get to focus a lot more.
Right. You're the ultimate road warrior. So from there, of course, you were at Execration, but then it was mutual, right? It was a mutual decision between both parties for you to leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So you had the. It was mutual, right? It was a mutual decision between both parties for you to leave.
The plan was always to just play for Boston Majors, just to
Right.
sub for Boston Majors. There was never a discussion of whether I'd stay or not after Boston.
Right, right. All right. So from there, I think it was one of your teammates, Yapzer, I believe. He had an interview on Red Bull, and I think I have a quote up here, and I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it out loud for people to follow. Okay. So Yapzer in a Red Bull interview, he said, "This is with regards to you guys playing together." He said that the two of you were in contact at Boston, and you were discussing the idea of creating this team. So, what was that conversation like? Because it's different, right? Like he's a European player, you're an SEA player. What did he say? Was the idea always to have like an EU SEA team, or was it because you guys were good?
I think the regions never really mattered. What happened was that after TI, I was in talks with Pycat, and Pycat was talking to Yapzor as well. So it kind of connected both of us somehow. And to me, the way I play, I do want a greedy 4 as my partner. Someone similar like how DJ played at TI.
Right.
And Yapzor does suit that role. After that, when I came down to Fada was interested in Yapzor as well. And the link was just there, you know. Like, however it went, it would probably just be me and Yapzor together.
Right. Oh, so at the beginning it was just the two of you like trying to make a team together. How can you give us an idea how that conversation? Do you just talk to each other and then talk about game concepts? Was it like an interview, or was it just like you're hanging out and then you realize you guys think alike?
I never really made direct contact with Yapzor early on. It was me talking to Pycat and Pycat talking to Yapzor. And then after that, it was me talking to Fata and Fata talking to Yapzor. And eventually it reached a point where we did talk to each other and we just kind of discussed, like, he asked me, am I clear about how he plays and stuff like that, you know? Like, he's a greedy 4, and I said, yeah, I'm pretty clear on what he does, you know, he's a playmaker, he's a greedy player. Right. And I think that is what I'm looking for as my support partner.
Right. And that's one of those things that are really interesting to me. So I'm gonna read the rest of the quote from Red Bull, right? So he said, "We didn't have any trials at all." Remember, this is Yapzer for people who are watching. Yapzer said in the Red Bull interview, "We didn't have any trials at all when you guys were building the team. We just had great, intuitive, long talks with one another to best understand how each of us think. It shows us well. Confidence couldn't be higher. And I am of the personal opinion that it is best to build a team around that kind of structure." So, what was it like? You guys, you know, you got together through PyCat and then through Fata. But then how did the rest of the team come together? Did you start interviewing people to see if it fit your version?
That's basically what happened. I think, if I remember properly, it was me, Fata, and Yapzor, and we would discuss players. Like, we would shortlist what kind of carry we would want and what kind of offlane we want to best fit the team, you know. Like to play with Yapzor, you probably want a carry that is less aggressive. I mean less, that farms less. Like you don't want a full farm carry or hard farming offlaner, you know, you want playmakers.
Right. So less of a miracle type where he's always playing for the late game, yeah.
More of a maybe no tail from OG. Something like that, you know. They make moves, but after that, so we did shortlist Firo, which Yapzor highly recommended, and so like Fada and Yap would just play with him constantly, and they did like him, so we kind of settled on Firo from there. I only talked to Firo a bit. I never really played with him ever before the team, but I trusted Fata and Yapzor's judgment. Like, that's what we built the team on, you know. Like, I trust them and they trust me. So between our last player, we weren't really looking for a player like 4F, because in our opinion he was more of a farming offlane than a playmaker. But after we spoke to him, he showed that he just wants to learn, and he understands that the way he's playing now is probably not ideal for the game, and that he can adapt pretty easily, which he has shown. So yeah, we just
Oh
went with
yeah,
Far.
I think you have him now on something like Nick's Assassin when he has to be.
Yeah.
Why is that, by the way? Before we go to the follow up question,
Mhm.
why is that? Why is the farming offlaner not as efficient for the game right now as the game is?
It's just because Yapzor plays greedier 4.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Oh, because then they're both essentially playing.
Yeah,
offlane.
it's just team cohesion.
Right. Talk to me about getting that team identity, because it's rare that you have, like, while you're building a team, you already have a team identity in mind. Usually, you bring players together, you start playing, and then you see that, okay, so if we have this together, this is how we play. Is this the first time you've built a team like this, where you had an identity, a way of playing in mind?
Yeah, it is. I think generally in my head, like most of the players, they're like puzzle pieces. Like when you look at Father, he's not this farming mid player. He's a playmaker. He plays the Miranas, the Quops. Or if he plays safe lanes, he does a lot of moves. He knows how to give pressure. When you think of Yapzor, you think of this 4 position that's really farmed. So when you see these two things in your game, it's easier to kind of fit in the last 2 pieces.
Right.
You kind of have a general idea. And once we settled with Firo, like it was super clear what kind of offlane we wanted.
So let's talk about Fada now. I mean, Fada obviously has been part of a lot of tier 1 teams. Especially, I think a lot of buzz was around him. TI3, TI4, especially in the stint in Cloud9. A lot of people are saying now that, especially the way you guys are playing on Bears, that this might be Fata's time to shine in the captain role, right?
Mhm.
How has it been working with Fata? From your
I believe all 4 of us have learned a lot from him, even though it's been such a short time period. I think in general, it's just the concepts he had from his previous teams were much better than ours, and we are trying to adapt that into our own play right now, as well as it's kind of merging with what we used to do. So it's a learning process for most of us, and he's also new to the captain role. So that's a learning process for him as well.
What's it like though? What's it like working with a first-time captain? Is there any type of because in other games you'd be like, I'm not sure if this captain's gonna work, but do you think Fata's risen to the challenge? You think?
I think it always balances out. Like sometimes we have like awkward drafts and awkward moments, but it balances out. Like Yapzor he has captain potential. Like
Right.
he knows he knows how to draft. He knows how to basically talk to people, and like we help each other. Like if Fada wants to pre-draft before a game, like me or Yapso can both help him. And we just discuss and talk about picks and bans, and in the end we all help each other to improve, and I think that's like what you want in a team. We
Right.
make up for each other's weaknesses. We cover each other.
So from here, I want to get your thoughts on some other things a little bit. We'll get back to Bears. I promise you. We'll get back to Bears in a little bit. But if everyone's watching right now hasn't sort of picked up on it by now, Adam, you enjoy analyzing the game of Dota 2 to the minute details, especially around support. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you for the show was 7.02.
Uh-huh.
A lot of changes, mostly new talents, some strategic changes, for example, the shrines. But before this patch, we saw a lot of Rubiks, a lot of Pudges from the Radiant side. Radiant had like an insane win rate, for example, because the way that those two heroes sort of integrated themselves into the strategy was that on Radiant side, you had very, very unfair ancient pulls, creep pulls with these heroes. Did the game change because of 7.2? Because now it's supposedly Dire side has an easier medium creep camp on their offlane. Supposedly you can't do a lot of those pulls with Rubik and Pudge anymore. Do you think the game changed from that perspective? And if so, how is that going to impact the games from DAC forwards?
I think the pulls were an accident. They were never meant to be there. So it was just something that had to be fixed eventually, and we all kind of knew what was going to happen. It was just too hard to deal with, and it's too abusable as well. Um, Between Raiden and Dire advantage, I don't feel like there's a big difference. Dire has side lane advantages, but at the same time, Raiden has the mid lane, and the neutral camps in mid lane opens the Alchemist and the SF. You can just pick it early because they can just fall back to the jungle super easily. And Rosh doesn't matter because they are shrines right now.
Right, right.
Yeah. Other than that, I think a lot of this Raiden advantage comes down to a team's comfort.
Right.
Like some teams might be more comfortable on Dire, it doesn't really matter to them. I think most teams pick second pick or first pick right now. Everyone kind of ignores the side because of how much advantage drafting gives you in this patch.
Right. So why is that? Why does drafting give such a big advantage this patch? Why is that?
I believe the way that a lot of teams try and abuse this patch right now is they apply a lot of pressure on the map. That's why you see a lot of these first pick LDs and Weavers, these heroes that can stand on the offlane alone.
Right.
Where they just last pick their mid hero, because their supports are always free to move, always free to kind of go wherever they want and pressure your carry, Like you pick this slug and your opponent has a Weaver, maybe the support will come to your slug's lane. And it feels hard to play the game from behind right now just because of how well teams execute. Like the smallest of mistakes, I would say it's easier to keep a lead than to make a comeback.
Right.
You always have harder win conditions.
So it's a very snowball kind of world right now for you, at least for you. Where you snowball an advantage early, it's easier to keep it, or what would you say?
I guess you could say that. Like it's always easier to play from ahead. You have more win conditions. Like
Right.
if I'm losing, my win condition might be like we have to take a fight where we kill the Oracle first, and we have to have a ward here. We have to stay in the trees, But if that Oracle player is careful enough to realize this, and he's always in a secure position throughout the game, you just lose the game based on that.
Right.
The winning team always has an easier game as long as they are aware of what the opponent needs to win.
Right. So, because you mentioned something that I think was also being pointed out by some analysts in the scene, where the supports can go around a lot more because there's a lot of the win conditions demand a lot from the map. Like if there's a lone druid here, and that's a really big target for you, and the thing is he doesn't even need to go back all that well. So the supports on that team, on the lone druid team, can roam together very, very efficiently, also because there are more bounty runes now. Do you think that other support, the support duo style, the one that was popularized by FY, by Fenrir back in TI4, do you think we can see a lot of that coming back now? Because I don't think you see that style, the Team DK, Team Vici gaming style, but do you think it'll make a comeback?
I don't think so. I think a lot of heroes now are strong enough to make moves by themselves. Like the Sladas and the Earth Spirits, they can move by themselves. And the third party just has to carry a TP and come when he's needed, He doesn't have to move together, and that's a more efficient way of playing. If you do roam and you get like maybe 1 or 2 kills only, you're probably going to be under level compared to the opponent supporters, and it does make you play on the back foot, you don't accomplish much.
Right. All right. So from here, I want to talk to you about DAC. Right. So DAC, great tournament for you. Congratulations. I know it stings when you lose in second place, but you guys proved a lot. Because a lot of people, I think, were discounting you going forward. I saw some tweets like bears with the spelling, the B and the the close parentheses, going like, oh, what kind of name is that, right? So what were your thoughts on the strategy going into DAC? Was there anyone you guys were very, very worried about? I know you were in I would say a medium difficulty group, right? You were up against Navi and Secret. So talk to me about that. What were you most worried about going into DAC?
Uh, I think our biggest challenge was in our heads was definitely Liquid. We knew how good they were, and they were honestly like definitely one or two levels above us. We scrim them a lot, so we kind of understand how they play. But at the same time, DSC was more about discovering ourselves and improving on what we have than actually trying to win. I mean, when it did come down to it, we did try to win, but all in all, it was practice for us. It would have been amazing if we won, but we are okay with losing as well. I think our main goal for DAC was it was weird coming into DAC, barring expectations and stuff like that. We didn't really care, but we also had expectations for ourselves because we never really played together, and a lot of us are new to what we are doing now. Like Fatah's new to playing on the safe lane, new to drafting. Firo's new to the competitive scene, sort of new at least. Me and Yapso are new to working together, So it's kind of like building concepts for a team, and DSC was about that for us. It's building a foundation of what we want to play on, and how we fix and work on problems. So all in all, I think it went really well.
Right, I would say so. I mean, you guys definitely stirred some at least if not outright praise, a lot of interest definitely around your team. So I want to talk about that after the group stages. So you top the group stages. You go 2-0. You exit the top, and then first opponent was against Cloud9. You send them to the lower bracket, and then you lost against Liquid.
Yep.
And then you faced Cloud9 again. So how was it? What was going through your minds once you lost that first game to Liquid?
You mean in the grand final?
In the semifinal. I think winners bracket, the
Final?
second match of the winners bracket. Yeah.
I think we just knew that we messed up a bit. Like
Right.
I believe that game was ours to win, but
Yeah.
at the same time we knew that that game wasn't really a big deal because there was no winners bracket advantage going into the grand finals. It just meant we'd get to play more games the next day, which we were kind of happy about. I think we played really well on the first day against Liquid, but at the same time, the Liquid we played didn't feel like the Liquid we scrimmed against. Like we knew
So you
that.
scrim a lot with them. They were
I
your
would
scrim.
say like a pretty decent amount.
Oh.
I wouldn't say like it's a tremendous amount, but we do scrim them quite often. I think we knew that we could beat Liquid, but out of 10 games we might only win 2 or 3.
Okay.
Yeah. We were kind of happy with our performance. We made much less mistakes than we usually do. I think we just took it as a scrim where your opponent's gonna try their best to win. It's not like those normal scrims where people are just messing around and
Yeah,
stuff.
just fucking around, just bringing out whatever. Right. So that was Liquid, and of course you guys met in the grand finals, and they were able to get the advantage on you farming. I think both games Miracle
Yeah.
was on in Invoker. Do you have any thoughts, reflections about that grand final?
I think we could have played better. I'm not sure if the loss affected us the day before.
Right.
I didn't feel like it did, but I can't speak for my teammates. I also think that Liquid played much better on the second day than the first day. All in all, I'm not sure how to say. I think they were just the better team. Yeah, but we're still new, and we'll get there eventually.
All right. So we're gonna go into our last round of questions. But before we close the book on Liquid, I wanna know something from you. You keep mentioning that you guys are again. It was your first tournament together. It was your first outing together. A lot of firsts for your team. What I want to know is this team, is Bears a team that's built for the long term? Because you get a lot of these teams in Dota where they form up, but then after one or two tournaments they disband. Is this a team that's built for the long term?
I'm not sure what you mean by long term, but if you mean until TI, then that's for sure. I think
Until TI. All right.
I think for any team in the world, it's hard to give an answer past TI. Like everyone plays for TI, and I think we're new enough to know that there are still stuff that could happen between the team that we haven't seen yet. I mean, so far there has been frustration and stuff like that, but it's all been productive, Like you get frustrated after games and fix the problem. That's good frustration, We haven't hit a wall yet. We haven't got lazy yet. So I think it's really hard to give you an answer right now. But I think even if we sign a contract with sponsor and stuff, it should definitely be until TI. And post TI, I think it just depends how.
It's up in the air. Yeah. It's up in the air. But that was the exact kind of answer that I was hoping you were going to give, because I think a lot of viewers, they sort of have that, they have that mentality where they sort of assume that Dota 2 teams should function like sports teams, where you have to stick together for a year or something like that. You have to trust the process. But so for you guys, you're very level-headed, thinking that this is for TI. Past that, you don't know. But I think the important thing is that you guys are trying to fix any issues that come up. So that's very good to know. So last question. Thank you very much for joining us. But this question is going to be a little bit of a funny question.
All right.
Because you mentioned sponsors.
All right.
And I know of an organization that always gets a Dota 2 team who has a lot of money right now. Do you watch CS:GO at all?
Yes, I do. Been watching DreamHack just a bit.
Oh yeah, I know. I've been watching DreamHack. It's gonna come up in a few hours when you're recording this. So Mouse Sports has reportedly sold Nico for $500,000 or something.
Yep.
So are you gonna see Mouse Sports Bears?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I don't think we've settled on a sponsor yet. We're kind of negotiating and in between discussions.
There's a lot. There's interest. There's people who've contacted you.
Yes, there's.
You're gonna let us know, right? You're gonna let us know.
As soon as we confirm our sponsor, I'll definitely announce it. I think there is a chance we play with Mouse, but I'm not sure how big it is. Like, we are definitely considering it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Adam. Adam, always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
Do you have any shout-outs at all? Anyone you want to greet?
Not really. I love your shirt, by the way. I'm sure I need to get that.
I know. It's the same. People need to, respect the beard.
Yeah, they do.
We are beard brothers now, man.
We are.
We better hang out when the next time we see each other. Next time I'll bring a pack of cigarettes. Anyway, all right. So for everyone watching this for WomboXCombo, this is another Sandata 1v1. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.